Did you know that your subconscious beliefs could be the very thing standing in between you and the wealth that you desire? Today's guest knows this firsthand because she has lost it all and rebuilt her life and business from the inside out. I'm your host, Beverly Cornell, founder and fairy godmother of Brand Clarity at Wickedly Branded. We have helped hundreds of overwhelmed, overachieving consultants, creatives, and coaches awaken their brand magic and boldly bring their marketing to life so they feel more confident and attract the absolute favorite and most profitable clients to them. But before we dive in, just a little heads up to our listeners. This is the final interview under the Spark Ignite Your Marketing name, because next season we're stepping into something a little bit bigger and bolder and fully aligned to who we are now. That's right. Season 6 will launch with a brand new name. We'll be Wickedly Branded, the podcast. Same show, same magic, but now fully aligned and in sync with the rebrand that we did earlier this year. Think of it as our own brand activation moment. I cannot wait to bring you along with us. So let's get into today's episode. Today, I'm joined by the powerful and intuitive Alara Sage, known as the Oracle of Wealth. You have the fairy godmother and the Oracle. I love that today. Alara helps visionary entrepreneurs break through energetic blocks and step into wealth that's not about hustle, but embodiment. She's also the host of Wealth Embodied and brings together ancient wisdom, quantum mechanics, and business strategy in a way that's truly magnetic. Welcome, Alara.
Hello, Beverly. Thank you so much for having me here.
I actually was on a podcast earlier today as the guest, and I talked about hustle versus soul. So I'm super excited about this conversation because I've been talking about this for a while too. And I know that probably have a little bit of a different approach, but probably some similarities too. So let's go back to the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey. What led you to start your business, and what did those early days look like for you and the Oracle of Wealth?
This is actually my third business. This business was divinely orchestrated. Before I was doing this business, I was working with horses and doing physical body work on performance horses. And I was an animal communicator. And one day my higher self came to me and said, "You're going to start working with people." And I was like, "No, I'm not. Thank you. Goodbye." It wasn't up to me. And that is what happened. I moved through my resistance and now I adore it. But that is the open, honest question there.
How did you start animal communication? It's funny. I wanted to be a marine biologist before I became a marketer. But how did the animal communication love start?
That's super interesting, Beverly, because I was a scuba diving instructor many years ago. And all of those things are gorgeous. I will have to tell you, they're all beautiful. The animal communication started naturally just when I was working with the horses and working on their bodies. I was doing physical therapy to their bodies. And they started talking to me about what was really going on and what was really causing them the issues and the stress and oftentimes even trauma that they had before. The owners that I worked with were very good people. You're only a good person if you're hiring a physical therapist for your horse. But previous owners, oftentimes that trauma would come out as I was working on the horse. So that all happened organically. And it was one of those gifts that at first I just communicated to the horse and I didn't tell anybody about it. And then it was like, okay, some of my closest clients who I felt very safe with, I exposed to them my gift and it just really took off. And from there it was like, okay, this is just one of those things I have to do because I can do it.
So how did you move from animal communication to Oracle? Was there a spark or moment that shifted entirely where you're supposed to be? Was there one moment or was it a series of moments that said, okay, this is where I need to go?
No, that's when higher self came in and said, "You're going to start working with people." And at that point, I had shifted completely out of equine physical therapy because it required me to go visit the animals and it took a lot of time and muscle. And I'd gone through 2 pregnancies. So I was doing animal communication full time. And and higher self said, "You're going to start working with people." And I was like, "No, I'm not." And then all of the calls after that, the information that was coming through was not about the animal. It was about the owner. And I was like, I better own this because it doesn't seem right that they're calling me up about their dog and I'm telling them all about them. So I better rebrand this very quickly so that people don't feel, they never did. They never felt like I was misleading them or anything, but it was important for me to be of integrity.
Awesome. One of our clients is a naturopathic doctor. She runs a pet food store. And so she's all about the different modalities of healing from the inside out, which is amazing. So that's why I was so curious. I love this so much. Tell me about who you help as the Oracle of Wealth. Dive deep into your niche, but also talk about the transformation that you offer. Give us like a real world example of someone that you have worked with.
I help women and I help those entrepreneurs, the female visionary entrepreneurs who, have been in business and have felt like for some reason, all of everything they've learned about business has rubbed them the wrong way. the bro marketing, the different strategies and systems just doesn't feel like it aligns to who they really are. And they've done the things and they keep doing it because that's what everybody says to do. But deep inside, they feel a resistance, they feel a misalignment, and they know that there's another way to do business. I'm really here to help them to connect to their aliveness, their feminine power, their erotic wealth, and learn how to move that through their bodies, move it through into their business, and become highly magnetic and absolutely transform business and how we do business as women. So most of my clients come to me and they have a business. Many of them come and they have a successful business. Some of them come and they're starting off. They've often been in energies of control, of exhaustion, of burnout. They are hustling, they are striving, and they're done. Like it doesn't feel good to them anymore. And what happens when we work is we reconnect them to their power, because none of that is power. None of all of that energy is power. That's all the frequency of force. And force will always burn you out because it doesn't organically sustain itself. In the frequency of force, you have to have something pushing against it. So you always have to show up and push. Hustle, strive, grind, do the things, have the endless to-do lists, not have enough time, not have the luxury of doing the things that you want in life. That's all force. Power, however, is where we actually get to do a lot less because every action that we're taking is deeply intentional and highly impactful, and it creates a ripple. So now you have tremendous time to play, to be with your family, to go on vacations, to do whatever lights you up, because every action that you take in your business creates a ripple effect. So it's a massive transformation from the inside out. And we work a lot with the nervous system and the mind and getting into the body and understanding what is alignment. What does it feel like to be aligned? What does it feel like to feel empowered, expanded, embodied in your power, in the resonance of your unique brand? Because you're a genius. There's nobody out in the planet that is like you. You're special in who you are. And there's a particular voice, a particular expression, particular gifts and medicine that want to come through you. And so I help them to embody that and learn how to bring that through in their business, but it goes into their lives. It transforms their relationships, all of that. So for instance, I had one woman, she was coming to me and she had already a successful business. She was making like $48,000 a month. And we got her in a couple of months making $83,000 a month, working 3 hours a week. Now, I will say she was established. And then I've taken other women who are not established and making zero or making a couple of hundred, a couple of $1,000s. For instance, I had one woman who came to me and she'd been struggling for several years. She was making $1,000 to $3,000 a month. And we got her up to 15K consistent months, relatively short. It was about 6 to 8 months that took us.
So I heard a couple things that are definitely very similar to my approach and what I have been through personally that you're sharing. I consider myself a high-performing female founder who was caught in a competition trap and was carrying a should suitcase. I should have my business this way because society said this is what success looks like. So that suitcase was pretty freaking heavy and I was pushing it along until I was burnt out completely and actually almost closed the doors to my business. And what I realized at that time was that I had been helping my other clients. I call it awaken their magic in what they do. Everybody has magic that sometimes it's already inside of you. I don't have to go and create it for you. It's in there. It's just awakening it and then activating it and amplifying it is what we do from a marketing and branding standpoint here at Wickedly Branded. But it's interesting because so many of my clients have so much in their heads. And until we pull it out, I call myself a marketing therapist. When we pull it out and we put it on paper in this really aspirational way, so they even see the magic that is possible. And when you unlock that, awaken that, uncover that, all those things, there is an energetic shift that happens and you can't tamp down the magic anymore. For whatever reason, once it's unleashed, watch out because it's not going to go back in the box. And I feel so completely honored to be in that realm, working in that work. I've had my own struggles with it. I was able to overcome it myself. I'm sure there's more to go in the process. I'm a recovering perfectionist, all the things, right? So they get in your way. But I think it's a really powerful transformation when you can help people really live in their purpose, their zone of genius, in a way that truly aligns with what you're supposed to be doing and feels so good to live in that you can't go back to what it was before. I always use the example of I used to wake up at 3 a.m. being completely stressed. And now I wake up at 3 a.m. and I have so many ideas and I'm excited about what is available to me now. So did you experience this journey? Did you have to find your way and awaken your magic? What did that look like for you to get to here? What was it about this particular business that you had to like awaken and get to here? Hey, I know you're listening today because you're ready to take your business and your brand to the next level. But if you're being honest with yourself, maybe you've been feeling a little bit lost, but you've got this big vision and you know that you're meant to make a bigger impact. But sometimes it's so hard to know where to start and which direction to take. Does that sound familiar? You're not alone. So many purpose-driven entrepreneurs feel the exact same way as you. That's why I created the Clarity Quiz, a simple tool that helps you get to the heart of what's holding you back and shows you where you need to focus next. No more second guessing, no more spinning the wheels, just clear, actionable insights that give you the confidence to move forward, that next best step. Taking the quiz will give you a deeper understanding of your brand's true potential and what's standing in your way. And the best part, it only takes like 3 minutes, but the results, they could transform the way you approach your business and brand forever. So if you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed and you want to start showing up with purpose and clarity, go to wickedlybranded.com and take the quiz now.
I was running a spiritual mentorship business that was very successful from the get-go. I was making 6 figures and I had multiple 6 figures in the bank. And honestly, from the external, it was like, it's all there, right? I'm doing the thing I love. I'm making money. I am helping people transform. And I had this little voice in my head that was like, more. And it was coming from scarcity and lack. Money is not wealth. Money is money. Wealth is an embodied state of being that is, from my perspective, deeply connected in communion with source, with nature, with creation in and of itself. So even though I had it all, I went through an experience where my money was stolen from me. And I watched my 6 figures in my bank account go down to 0. I've always had this gift of creating what I want in my life very easily as a child. Even people would always say to me, like, how do you do it? You just get what you want. So I've always been able to do that. And so literally I was like, it's just money. I'll just create it all back. And that's not what happened. What happened was my 6-figure business then collapsed. And I went into debt for the first time in my life. And that's when it really hit me. Everybody focuses on the theft, but it didn't hit me then. I actually was like, I got this. It was when I went into debt and I watched my business stop bringing in clients. Everything came to a halt that I was like, okay, what is really going on here? And I worked very closely with the mother. So in creation, we have a trinity. We have the mother, the father, the child. They're all God. They're all source. They're all creation. They're different aspects of our internal dialogue, feminine, masculine, child. And I worked very closely with the mother. And she came in and she showed me that power, wealth, and sex are all basically the same frequencies. And I held a lot of shame around money. In my spiritual business, I had this push-pull. I was spiritual, right? I was a mentor. And that was long before I even understood what that meant. So when I became in my spiritual business, I had this desire to be wealthy. And then I had this shame around that. That's not spiritual. That's materialistic. That's egoic. That's superficial. So I shoved that down and I shamed and judged myself for desiring it, even though the desire was actually innate, innocent, and pure. And same with my sexual energy. I had grown up, I got sexually molested by my grandfather. So I held a lot of shame there also. And the mother took me through the healing of that shame and also showed me my relationship to money, because that shame had really created a dysfunctional relationship to money. A dysfunctional relationship pretty much to everything. And one day she said, ask money how you show up. And I was like, okay. So I said, money, how do I show up? And money was like, you don't show up. You want something from me. There's no reciprocation of you to me. And honestly, that blew me away because I practiced gratitude, but I didn't have intimacy with money. I didn't want to look at my finances because I held shame there. I didn't want to have a deep relationship with money because I felt shame for ever even wanting it. So the shame was blocking me from my power. So through the transformation that the mother took me through, recreated it all, but it's from a completely different frequency. Everything I do comes from a state of pleasure, comes from my erotic current. It comes from this deep space, this deep intimacy with my sexual energy, with my power. None of it comes from the mind because the mind is radically limited in its ability to create.
Yeah.
Our womb, however, the actual vessel that literally creates life, is here to hold pure creative life potential in it and help us utilize that frequency, aka power, money, sex, to create our reality. So everything I do comes from this deep state of aliveness, arousal, playfulness, and I have a deep relationship to money and mother and my body and my clients.
Yeah. So many things you've said there, Alara, that are interesting to me. I think about the trauma. Everyone has trauma, right? Everyone holds trauma in some way, shape, or form. And the trauma that carries us through a lot of times can be masked in things that the society likes. So hustle culture, high performance, perfectionism, all those things are celebrated in our culture. And the trauma can feed those things that look positive or actually really negative to the person who is experiencing that. And I've had to work through some of that for sure over the years. I'm still working through some of that. I think it's like an ongoing process as you evolve. But the phrase, "you create from the womb, not the mind," really struck me for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, yes, the womb it creates, but I also link it to I've struggled with infertility. And for a long time, I thought I was broken, but I was creating a business and I was creating these other things that were happening in my life. I was still creating, but I wasn't creating a child. And when you said creation from the womb, it actually struck me as, oh, that makes so much sense to me because I was building something entirely different. I was building myself in this whole community of people and a very different thing, which is my baby. And in many ways, it is my baby. But that's a powerful phrase for me specifically because of the struggles I've had with infertility and feeling like as a woman, I was broken because I couldn't have the baby. And when you are poked and prodded and all the things when you have infertility and people are looking at you in a very vulnerable state, you're pretty much open for the world to see. And that was around the time that I had a big shift in my business. So that phrase hit me really hard in my center of my soul, create from the womb and not the mind. I love that so much from my journey. I think that's really interesting. This season is all about confidence. It's all about how you show up and how you fully feel in alignment and exist in a way that gives you confidence. I don't think confidence is innate. I think it's built through small steps of courage, small decisions to not let something control you, small decisions to show up in a way you maybe feels uncomfortable, but you still do it. It's not something that is just innate in some ways. Although my 9-year-old has confidence like you wouldn't believe. So maybe it is built inside of you. But talk about what part of your journey has required the most courage and where you've had to build the most confidence.
Yeah, definitely. The story I shared that required the most confidence. I've always been a very confident individual, but confidence too can be superficial. Confidence too can be trauma projected, not into physical reality.
Yeah.
And I was for many years projecting confidence for deep fear of really being seen in how I felt about myself. So it was like, as long as I come up and I come through as confident, they won't actually know how I feel about me, which is deep shame, right? And again, that was stripped away when I had to really face that shame. To me, much deeper than confidence, it's a trust that we are held. And oftentimes that can sound really great. Oh, we're always held. Fantastic. Where the fuck is God right now? Because I'm struggling. But we're the ones that are causing the strife. We're the ones that are causing the struggling. We're the ones that are creating the tension in our lives. And what the mother taught me was a deep state of surrender, which doesn't mean you give up. Absolutely not. It means that you learn how to let go. It means you learn to soften the tension that we're holding in our bodies, right? The tension we're holding in our minds, in our emotions, and breathe and open your energy and breathe down into your feminine power, which lives in your yoni. It lives in your womb. And you know what? When you actually embody that frequency, you don't need quote unquote confidence anymore because you are power, and it is completely different. And it's so much fun because every day I let that part of me, I let my yoni, the feminine within me, I let her pick out the outfits. And let me tell you, I always used to just wear comfortable clothing. She never wants to wear comfortable. She wants to wear sexy and bright and bold and all these things, but not because of anything external. She wears them all because of deeply divine wisdom. She chooses a particular color for that day that is encoded, that brings that color into every video that I'm on. She brings a particular sensation to my body that when I put on the outfit, I feel a particular way. Everything that she does, because the feminine is power and wisdom. Everything the feminine within you does when you're embodied in her is power and wisdom. You walk differently. You talk differently. And it's not about confidence. It's about knowing I am the power. I am the source through which everything in my life comes from. That's power. And that just enables us in such a beautiful way of both like sassy, of I'm the source, and also like responsibility, like I'm the source. I don't get to blame anybody else. I get to hold myself accountable for my life.
So my first thing that I feel like I hear you is so much of the patriarchal society has said you can't feel those things. That power is scary to them. And thus they have created systems to reduce our power, to take away our power, to negate the power. Even the choice of the words. Whenever I hear, I typically don't swear on my show, but if you were to say the P word, that they say, oh, you're being a pussy. They're saying that to you like as if it's derogatory. And I have joked with my husband, call me that all day long. It freaking gives birth. What does your testicles do? Yeah. Like your testicles are weak. They shrink when you go in the water. You get kicked there. You can't talk for 10 minutes. So don't tell me. So when you call somebody weak, call them a testicle because it's not a pussy. So I have a whole reframe around that, but I feel like that scares men tremendously when we start talking like that. I feel like it becomes like this, oh no. So even like claiming that body part back in that way is like startling to them because they have used those words against us in a way to take away the power of what we have.
It was startling to me.
Yeah.
To use that word was startling. To reclaim that part of my body, to look at her, to love her, was very challenging for me.
We come from Puritans, for God's sakes. So like sex and shame right there for centuries now we've come from. If you had power, you were a witch and you were hung or burned. I do want to talk about this from a business perspective. So how does your power show up in your work?
The feminine is magnetic. She doesn't need to go out and chase because she draws to her. So again, everything starts to shift. And this happened in my own business. The chasing, I got to do this in order to put this out there to get clients, to get money, all of this stuff, to I'm putting this out there because it literally turns me on. Like I am turned on in my body by what I am creating.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. That's all I need. And it is magnetic frequency that goes out. And a great direct example of this is recently, I felt very much like some of my programs and things that I offering, kind of like what you were speaking to with this podcast, were done. Like I had changed, I had shifted, I had evolved, and they were done. And so I closed them all in integrity, but it was like they're closing now. They're done. And there was nothing set up. That was money lost, in, quote unquote, in my business. Like this would have been the old me. I'm going to lose like thousands of dollars a month of repetitive income, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't light me up. There's nothing. It's done. It's complete. I can no longer carry it. It's complete. And so I shut it down. And the message was, right now, you're just going to focus on one-on-one clients. Great. That's what I'm focused on. Whatever. I don't even need to understand what that means. That's just my frequency right now. And then right away, 3 one-on-one clients come in and sign up with me. I didn't have to do anything to get those clients. Just took years of understanding what I'm speaking to. This doesn't just happen immediately. This is the end result of working in these frequencies where we are not in performance. We're not in this space of I have to do in order to get. It is just that intuitive wisdom. And that wisdom, the beautiful thing about it, it's so much beyond us. It knows you don't have to worry about the markets and recessions and what's going on politically. Wisdom's way ahead of all of that. If you listen to that wisdom, you will always be on the pulse of wealth that desires to flow through you, because guess what? You are innately abundant and there is inexhaustible wealth that desires to flow through you. You just got to put your finger on it and it moves. You have to keep your finger on it. So that's the wisdom. It tells you where that is at all times. And you just listen and you take action. And that is literally it after you do the work to get to that point where you can trust that.
So how do you stay tapped into that?
It's by creating that relationship, right, with that wisdom. And this is really important. I love that you asked that, Beverly, because people are always like, how do I increase my intuition? How do I increase that wisdom? You listen. We need to own and take responsibility, because it's that trust, right? And just as you said, we've been brought up by Puritans. There's nothing in our society that has given a lot of value to this internal knowing, this internal wisdom. The society has given it all outside of us. I don't know, ask the doctor, ask the scientist, ask the guru. They'll tell you what to do, but they are not you, my love. And they're not tapped into you and your unique frequency and the unique way that wealth wants to come through. The only one that is tapped into that is you. So guess what? You're the solution and the problem. And when you learn that, okay, I have to learn, I have to teach myself, I have to have the courage, just as you said, to take action on these. When I hear it, I have to take action. And then we have to let go of expectation. Because the other thing we do is we go, okay, I'm going to take action. Okay, where are the results? Or where's the thing? We're looking for validation.
Yes.
And as soon as we do that, we collapse the quantum field down. All this potential that we're putting out there by listening to our intuition can be gone in a second, because we are attached to being validated. That's not trust. So we need validation. We don't actually deeply trust in ourselves. So we have to listen, take action, let go. Listen, take action, let go. And it's a practice that you build.
I have a whole talk about, it's kind of a metaphor for the Wizard of Oz. I talk about confidence from the courage of the cowardly lion, who every day was actually courageous with his friends, but he was looking to the Wizard of Oz to solve the problem, right? Outside of himself, when all along it wasn't about somebody else. And I've always said that the man behind the curtain is actually you. So the story you're telling, or how your perspective you're sharing, is very similar into the belief system I participate in. It's a little bit different and more unique, but I feel like so many people are looking for a solution outside of themselves, when it is you finally making a choice to invest in you, do the work for you. Now, I have a coach, I have a therapist, I've done Reiki, I've done acupuncture, I've done all the things. I probably need to do some somatic breathing and other stuff to release some trauma that I have. However, when I've done the work on myself is when my power has come alive. And you say it turns you on. I say it lights me up. Very similar. It's something internally inside of you that is so alive that it can't even be contained. And when you say magnetic, it radiates from your soul and you attract people. And there's absolutely no question. One of my content buckets is about confidence and visibility, because when I rebranded in March, I rebranded from BC and Associates Marketing to Wickedly Branded.
Oh.
And the shift, I got like chills as well. The shift in just the name was incredibly powerful. And I remember looking to my assistant, I said, I don't know if I'm ready for all this, but this is it. It's pushing the button. We're doing it. And it wasn't that I didn't trust myself necessarily. It was more of letting it go of, I'm not sure what this is going to bring, but I'm like down for the ride, whatever that looks like. And I remember looking at her and saying, let's do it. And when we did, we pushed the button. It was something very shifted in the universe that happened. And I've never felt more aligned, never felt more in my purpose, zone of genius, all the words people use, in my power. Then that was the first step. And every step since then has been more confident in I can handle this power, in my awareness and trust of myself with this gift that I have been given.
Hey there, you've just finished part 1 of the Sparking At Your Marketing episode. How are you feeling? Excited? Inspired? But we're just getting started. Next Thursday, we're dropping part 2, and you won't want to miss it. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter so you'll be the first to know when it goes live. Until then, take a breather. Let those ideas simmer, and we'll see you next week.
And that wraps up today's episode of the Sparking Ignite Your Marketing podcast. Remember, confidence is built one intentional step at a time. And every time you show up for your brand, you are proving to yourself and to your audience that you are ready for more. Speaking of more, I have something really exciting to share with you. Starting next season, the Sparking Ignite Your Marketing podcast will have a brand new name. Wickedly Branded, the Marketing Podcast. We're making this change because we want to show up more wickedly branded ourselves, fully aligned with the bold, creative, and confident brand that we stand for. Back in March, we updated our entire brand from BC and Associates Marketing to Wickedly Branded, more bold, sassy, and magical brand that we truly feel resonates with us and the magic we've been creating for our customers for 13 years. So in season 6, we'll take everything you've learned about building brand confidence and business confidence and confidence in yourself and move it into the next phase. We call that brand activation. This is where strategy meets your soul, and we bring your brand to life with visuals and voice and a vibe that's undeniably you. So keep tuning in, keep building that confidence, and get ready because season 6 is going to be the spark that ignites your brand. And it's where we'll dare you to be wickedly branded.